Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Israel Brief, always brought to you by Lay of the Land and hosted by me, Raylene Marks. And we bring you those top stories making headlines in Israel and the region every Monday to Thursday. Now, when you're not watching the Israel Brief live on your device, you can check out our website at www.layoftheland.online for all of our original content, or join our Facebook community. We're at Lottel Site. We're growing. We would love you to be a part of it. So please consider liking or following and sharing our content. For many of you who watch YouTube, we are there as well. Our channel is called The Israel Brief, and we would love it if you hit that big red subscribe button, liked our content, and of course, shared it with all of your friends. And we're on Twitter as well at Lay of the Land 5. But let's get into those top stories, and we begin with the big story, which is the ongoing crisis in the Ukraine, and following President Putin of Russia's declaration last night to recognize the eastern Ukrainian territories of Donetsk and Luhansk. Our Foreign Ministry has done a security assessment, and following conversations with those on the ground, we have reiterated for Israeli citizens still in the Ukraine to leave the country with immediate effect, and that window to leave is closing. Now, last night, our Foreign Minister Yair Lapid announced that he would be moving the Israeli embassy, which is currently in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, to its consular offices in Lviv. And the consular offices will work to ensure that those remaining Israeli citizens on the ground will be able to leave. The ways given now are through border crossings into neighboring countries. And he spoke with our ambassador to the Ukraine, Michael Brodsky, a short while ago, just to offer support and to get an update. And it is estimated that there are at least still 7,000 Israelis that are on the ground in the Ukraine. So if you are in the Ukraine and you're watching this and you're an Israeli citizen, please get to the consular offices in Lviv as soon as possible so that they can help you evacuate. There are an estimated 10,000 Israelis in the Ukraine, and 3,000 of those 10,000 have been able to evacuate safely. In other news, yesterday was quite a historical day in Israel's Supreme Court. 4 new justices were announced to join to make up the 15-judge panel. And out of these 4 new appointments, we have 2 really historic new appointments. One is the first Muslim Arab. Now, we have had a Christian Arab justice, Salim Jubran, before, but we say a huge mabruk to Justice Khaled Kaboub, who becomes the first Muslim Arab justice. And we have our first Mizrahi judge, a female judge. We say Mazal Tov to Gila Kanfi Steinitz, who joins the panel. Now, what is interesting is that Israel's Supreme Court is headed by a woman, Justice Esther Hayut, and at least 1/3 of the justices on the Supreme Court are women. Quite historical. And for those who are accusing Israel of being an apartheid state, as somebody who grew up in apartheid South Africa, there is no way you would have seen the appointment of a Muslim Arab to the bench if he was, or if Israel was, an apartheid state. Now, we've all been looking to see who will be the next country to normalize ties with Israel, and everybody wants the big fish, which is Saudi Arabia. But the Saudi foreign minister, speaking to Israeli Daily Ma'ariv, said that, before there is to be any normalization of ties with the state of Israel, the priority now is to find a just solution to the Palestinian issue. He says the priority for Arab countries now is to get Israelis and Palestinians to sit together to look at ways to advance peace, and following that, many Arab countries will normalize. However, we have heard murmurings that we could see countries like Indonesia possibly normalizing ties. And while not in the Middle East, Indonesia is home to the largest Muslim population in the world. Meanwhile, while we're still on the subject of normalization and peace agreements, yesterday the trade ministers of both Morocco and Israel signed a landmark deal, increasing the amount of investment and trade between our two countries. So if anybody has any doubts about the importance and the power of the Abraham Accords, we are seeing this every single day. And we know there have been some murmurings by progressive groups and congressmen like Jamal Bowman who don't agree with the Abraham Accords. One only has to look at the incredible level of cooperation and goodwill, not just between politicians, but between average people as well. And our final story takes us to the Conference of Presidents events that are being held at the Knesset this week. And yesterday, our Minister of Regional Cooperation from the far left Meretz party, Esawi Snej, he himself, a Muslim Arab, stated quite emphatically that Israel is not an apartheid state. And speaking today to leaders of the US Jewish community, our chairman of the Ra'am party, that's the Islamist party, Mansour Abbas, who's also a Chaver Knesset, a member of the Knesset, says that he thinks that the Arab society and Arab leaders here can strengthen their relationship with global Jewry, saying, first of all, he thanks global Jewry for contributing to the increased financial importance of the community and its security and making contributions, but also working for the upliftment of Israel as a whole. And he has been hailed as a man who is forward thinking, who's looking at ways to live and with coexistence and build the state for all of its citizens, and does accept the fact that Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people. So those are top stories making headlines today. Don't forget to check in with me tomorrow as I bring you the Israel Brief with your top stories.